black, because it happens only to like white guys.
Mm.
But this is like one of the few.
This guy was an auditor, so he could have gotten on someone's bad side, but I don't
Yeah,
know how that explains what happens in the voicemail. Um, you know,
yeah. John wants to hear it.
okay. I don't know who John is, but thank you, sir. That's a new face there. I've never seen him before. You
I
know,
think I know who he is.
a lot less people dropping off. It gives me a tally of the number of viewers, and it's been dropping a lot less this episode than in previous ones.
That's because we're actually looking at cool stuff and not listening to gay ass freaking writers. Sorry for my outburst.
I mean, that may very well be. I don't know. I mean, I'm not. You know, doesn't mean I'll never talk about them again, but I may not talk with them about their work for a long time. I don't know. So, all right, you're making me do it. I'm having to bring up. God, let me do a little.
It can't hurt you, Jeremy.
Let me find the best clip here. Let me mute for a second, and I'll find. Just talk at the audience for a second. Let me mute, and I'll find the best clip.
All right. So this one that he's about to bring up is kind of lumped into a thing that I spend a lot of time looking into. I know I've read one book on the subject. I may have read more. I was more into it in college. But anyway, for old fans of the show, they'll know that we used to have William Ramsey on at times when we talked about the West Memphis Three and I guess Pizzagate a little bit. But William Ramsey's other big thing was the smiley face killers. And he's done a lot of research into it, talks about it, and through meeting him on this show, like I got interested in that thing. And I had always thought that, like, I'd heard the term smiley face killers before, and I had always thought that it was like some kind of serial killer that like left a smiley face somewhere. That's what I thought it was. Well, it turns out that it's a little weirder than that, and actually a bit more scary, because the theory is that there are these like almost like cells. Like, oh, here's the thing: no one knows who they are or if it's connected, but the theory is that there is either one person or a couple people or isolated groups basically targeting men, and typically young white men, and stay killing them, but then making their death hard to actually even identify as a murder by placing them in water. And so everyone will, and this is what happens: the cops will automatically always think that the person drowned, and it'll be ruled an accidental drowning, no matter if it's obvious some kind of foul play happened. And we can bring up stuff later, or maybe in another episode, where there's so much evidence that there's foul play, including the main thing that recurs is that they'll be dead in the water, but the autopsy report shows that they didn't drown. And that's a thing that happens a lot. And the families of these people are, they're trying to get actual answers about it. And this one, the Henry McCabe, it kind of breaks the mold a little bit, because he wasn't a young white guy. And see, that's what most of these cases are. It's young white guys walking home from bars and then winding up in the river. And a lot of people have had problems with the cops writing it off as they got drunk and fell in the river, because think about homeless people.
And not to mention that those were usually college age youths, and this guy was this was a successful man. He was an auditor, and he had a family.
And in this one, there's obviously foul play, and I think they still wrote it off as a freaking accidental drowning.
And I just wonder, has anyone ever actually looked into who he was auditing at the time? Can that, I mean, is that possible?
I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've looked into this one, but what John said in the chat, I did shield this episode on my channel that I do with my friend called Luther and Liminal Spaces,
Okay.
which is basically a meme channel and liminal space channel.
Okay. I still don't know what a liminal space is. I've seen you mention them before, but it's
Have you
something.
heard of the back rooms?
Huh?
The back rooms?
No. Oh yeah. The creepypasta type.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have nightmares tonight because of this and because of you. But here we go. You wanted the Henry McCabe, you got it. And I just want to warn anyone who is, heed that warning that this is very graphic audio and it is chilling and it is not fake. I mean, the man was found dead. So here we go. And I have a very hard time believing this is not supernatural
Or foul play.
or foul, and but yet it was caught in a voicemail. So I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if he was being waterboarded or drowning. I just don't know. It's or maybe tased or I don't know. Here we go. God.
It's a voicemail unlike anything you've ever heard before. There are 2 minutes worth of noises, bizarre ones, but very little actual talking. Authorities confirmed the disturbing middle-of-the-night call came from Henry McCabe's cell phone. It was Labor Day, September 7th at 2:28 in the morning. McCabe's worried wife heard the message.
Isn't my cell phone connected?
Minnesota Community Policing Services is a nonprofit agency and acts as a go-between with police and the Liberian community. The leader is trying to help the family make some sense of this recording.
The growls turned to high-pitched moans. So,
like he's moaning in pain.
Like moaning in pain.
The tortured grunts suddenly stop. There is silence. Then someone, either Henry or another person, says, "Stop it."
I try to picture where he was, what it might have been like, what circumstances would have made him sound like that.
The voicemail is in stark contrast to other articulate recordings of McCabe speaking at an event. He's a state auditor.
What is the justification? What is the right thing to do?
The message is one piece of evidence Mounds View police are reviewing. The police chief tells me even the FBI is analyzing the recording and voices for clues. The chief says the investigation took deputies here on Tuesday. To Rice Creek Park, which borders New Brighton, Mounds View, and Fridley, all areas where McCabe was reported seen or a cell phone ping placed him. Ramsey County Water Patrol searched, but came up empty.
On September 7th, 2015, at 2:28 a.m., Corrine McCabe
Wait, what did Kevin
received
say?
a bizarre and troubling voicemail from her husband, Henry.
This show is awesome.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Strange.
The 32-year-old auditor for the Minnesota Department of Revenue could be heard screaming and saying that someone had shot him. The last 2 minutes of Henry's call was recorded and featured high-pitched sounds of Henry moaning in pain, as well as unexplained growling noises. After several seconds of silence, a man could be heard saying "stop it" before the call concluded.
I'm only playing this to see if maybe there's something else to be learned from law enforcement's conduct or the wife in because I know the wife was becoming difficult and non-compliant with law enforcement in the months afterward.
I didn't know that. I also didn't know that there was a thing about a gunshot. I thought that they didn't find like gunshot or bullet holes in him or anything.
No, there were no bullet holes, but he said he'd been shot. Of course, the complete voicemail has been scrubbed from the internet. So all we have to go on is what is played in that universal clip that I just played.
The full phone call has never been released to the public, but snippets are available, which will be played now.
Oh, God, I got to hear it again.
Do it.
I'm not making light of this in any. This scares the hell out of me. I mean, I'm trying to keep it together just listening to this. Every time I hear it, it hits me a little harder. I can't imagine the fear that was gripped this man.
Henry McCabe was reported missing the next morning, and police searched for the man, who was an immigrant from Liberia and had been active in the Liberian American community. He had 2 daughters with wife Corrine and was well liked. Whilst his young family was on holiday in California, Henry stayed in Mounds View, Minnesota. He went to a nightclub with friends at a nearby town, and while the night was largely your typical boys' night, it is stated that a friend had taken Henry's wallet to prevent him from buying more drinks. They left the club at around 2 a.m., and Henry was being driven home by one of his friends, William Kennedy, when he asked to be dropped off at a gas station in Fridley, a city that was approximately 6 minutes away from the Spring Lake Park, the location of the nightclub. But more bizarrely, it was in the opposite direction of Mounds View, where McCabe lived. Police became suspicious of Kennedy when they checked the surveillance cameras at the gas station and found no signs of McCabe, but Kennedy was merely mistaken about the location of the gas station, and when authorities checked the cameras at the hotel station between Central Avenue and Hackman Avenue, they confirmed that Henry McCabe had been dropped off. It is unclear what Henry did from here, but police discovered that he made 3 phone calls, which pinged on towers of 3 different towns: Spring Lake Park, Fridley, and New Brighton, the last being that of the disturbing voicemail heard earlier. Members of the Liberian American community began searching for McCabe, and a $10,000 reward was also offered, but it was unsuccessful, and as a month passed, police feared the worst. McCabe had a beautiful family and good job. There were no signs that he wanted to disappear or harm himself. Water Patrol did an extensive search of Rice Creek and found nothing, but then on November 2nd, the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office was alerted by a kayaker of a dead body in Rush Lake in New Brighton. The body...
That's another consistency in cases where the Smiley Face murders and missing 411, are linked, is that they comb, these areas extensively and, thoroughly, and then they, something shows up.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. How they know that it's foul play is because the bodies will always turn up where the searchers have already been.
They're supposed to know it's foul play. I mean, who are they protecting? What are they protecting?
I don't know. I've often okay, so I have 2 things in my mind, or I guess, and not necessarily answers, but possibilities. And keep in mind, I've listened to a ton of these. One is they're protecting someone, or they're like, they might know something shady's going on, and it's like a big conspiracy. 2, they don't want to show that whatever it is that's committing these crimes actually has the upper hand and can outwit them. Because again, think about it. To place a body like that somewhere where the searchers have already looked, it's showing that you have a freaking eye on the searchers, who are supposed to freaking be able to see anything and overturn every rock. And I mean, that's chilling to think about. It's like this thing's, or not thing, but these people are watching you, and you can't see them. And this is law enforcement and search and rescue. I mean, it's horrifying to think about, but it's true. Something is watching them and places bodies just to be a dick, basically.
Yeah.
He was decomposed to the point where age, race, and gender could not be identified, but after tests were completed 2 days later, it was confirmed to be the remains of Henry McCabe. Weeks later, autopsy results were released, with Henry's cause of death being determined to have been drowning. There was no evidence of a stabbing or gunshot wounds.
He's, I mean, even though we've never heard that part of the voicemail.
Yeah, see, that's actually new to me. I never knew that was in the voicemail.
While it would be easy... Easy to accept the cause of death as drowning, it is hard to make sense of the bizarre voicemail Henry McCabe left his wife on the night of his death. It remains unexplained to this very day.
It's so freaky.
Someone out there knows something about this. You have an obligation to humanity to confess to the world what happened, what you know, or what you did.
Yeah. They're probably not going to do it, though. I think this will probably go unsolved forever.
I don't know.
I mean, I've got the feeling about that one. There's that one, and then the other one that really freaked me out was one. Let me look it up real quick. I think it's actually a Daily Beast article, ironically. Yep, it's actually a Daily Beast article. I was correct. Dakota James.
Is that all they do is villainize people, or do they actually try to report news?
Well, this article on it was actually very good because it didn't do the normal lefty thing of trying to debunk the weird conspiracy. I mean, the author, I think it was a woman, she was just like, anyone with a functioning brain can put two and two together and see that this man, I think he was actually gay, but he had a girlfriend. I don't know if it was like a, the covering up or whatever. But anyway, here's what happened. On one night, he actually called her, the girlfriend, and he had been drugged at a bar that he was in. And so she comes out to get him, and she actually gets there right when he's about to be abducted by a black SUV. Well, because she comes, the SUV speeds off, and he gets in, the car with her, and everything's fine. But he's drugged and freaked out, and everyone's freaked out because he just about got abducted.
Oh.
Well, he does something, and again, I'm not gonna say like, oh, he shouldn't have done that, he's stupid or blah blah blah. I mean, he's dead, and I sympathize with his family. But he goes back to the same bar. I don't know how much, longer or how much later, but he goes back to the same bar like maybe a couple of days or weeks or something later, and same thing happens, but this time they actually get him. But he goes, missing for a long time, and he winds up, in the river, the typical smiley face thing. And in this one, I think there actually still is, there's a smiley face found near the crime scene, or where they found him, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. And the police, basically, they refuse to say that foul play is involved. And everyone's just like, literally, he about got abducted and drugged before. And he goes back to the same place. And then this happens. And you're saying that he just got drunk and wandered into the water and drowned. It's like there's obviously something going on here. And they, again, anyone with a functioning brain can see the pattern where they're putting people in the water just so the cops can easily write it off as an accidental drowning.
What was the name of that?
That one, his name was Dakota James.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm gonna look that up some other day other than tonight. But yeah, that's definitely creepy. Well, I don't remember if this made it into that episode where I did originally play that Henry McCabe audio on The Quiet Place, like back in episode 7 years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But
speaking of which, how long ago was that?
I think it was probably 2015, 2016.
Oh my gosh, I'm freaking old.
Because what I'm about, I don't remember if I brought this up on that episode or not, but I reached out to a news reporter. I think it was the one who actually covered this story on KSTP TV Eyewitness News.
Mm-hmm.
In what, Moundsview, Minnesota, I think.
I think it was Minnesota.
Beth McDonough. I reached out to her because I was so disquieted by this audio, and I just felt like there had to just be something I was missing with Henry McCabe here. I said, Beth, I recently came across a portion of the audio of the Henry McCabe voicemail as covered by you and your news team, and as it was replayed on a broadcast of late night talk radio program Coast to Coast AM. I don't need to tell you that the audio of the growls and screams were disquieting and chilling. My problem is that we only hear a limited portion of the allegedly 2-minute call, and the voiceover, which may or may not be you, I'm not sure, tends to obscure parts of what has been made available. There is a description at the end of the clip saying that someone says, "Stop it," but if it's in the audio that's available, I never heard it. I was curious why the full clip was never made available. Also, I understand there was a second voicemail left to McCabe's brother. I was wondering why none of that call was made available to the public. I understand that this is sensitive subject matter, but given your credentials listed on the KSTP website, i.e. covering 9/11 and Oklahoma City bombings, I believe you have a strong constitution for discussions such as these. I tried calling the front desk with a very limited menu of 3 options, none of which offered the kind of help I was looking for. The girl at the front desk was of no help, so I had to seek out your name as it is linked to the original report of Henry McCabe. This story has stuck with me, and I hope you can be of help to me. You have my email here, and if you'd prefer to discuss this over the phone, you're not getting my phone number. Hi, Jeremy. Thanks for the email. This is her response. Given that the police department has all but closed the case and McCabe's wife has moved back to California, we are moving on from this story unless something surfaces. Kind regards, Beth McDonough. But I pressed a little further. Despite the reasons you listed for moving on, it still makes no sense to do so given the hair-raising menace displayed in that audio.
The hair-raising menace. I like that.
Yeah, there has to be more to this story. How can you simply move on and detach yourself from something this abnormal? I thought by reading your credentials that you were interested in finding the truth. I understand how fast things move in the news world, but it just seems like you would want to fight harder to get to the bottom of a story as unique as this. Then I got a little bit more of a response, from her. I appreciate your thoughts, she said. I also have listened to the voicemail a couple of times. We even had an FBI specialist listen. This could merely be a freak accident.
What?
My credentials looking into these matters for 25 years tell me my gut instinct is Henry was partying, got in over his head in a situation, and this was the unfortunate result. There could always be more to the story, and if there is, we'll cover that as well. To file a Freedom of Information Act or a FOIA, you simply send a typewritten letter to the Mounds View Police Department for any and all public information regarding the investigation of Henry McCabe. You might call ahead. They could possibly have a form. Best wishes to you, Beth McDonough.
Did you do it?
No.
Why?
I got too caught up with other things, This could merely be a freak accident.
That makes no sense, and especially if he's talking that he got shot. Well, I mean, he obviously
and there were no bullet holes on. Yeah, but listen, something's off with her language. If you ask me, listen to this. Let me read it again. My credentials looking into these matters for 25 years tell me my gut instinct is Henry was partying, not my gut instinct is Henry was partying.
It's, my credentials are telling me I have to say this.
I mean, I don't know. Is that reading too much into it, or is that?
I think it was her being eloquent, but not really, or wanting to be eloquent, but not knowing or caring what she said and just stringing words together. But yeah, I'm with Kevin. You should file the FOIA request.
Well, let's say I do. Why should I be the only one? We're all capable of filing FOIAs. Why don't we?
You're the adult here, Jeremy.
Oh, well, please don't say that.
Maybe I'll do it. I think I could actually.
Several of us should file FOIAs for this.
All right, I'll do it. You can do it. I guess I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put it in my Lutheran liminal or
Okay.
Lutheran liminal spaces. File a FOIA request to
Now-
the about the Henry McCabe incident to get more information.
Here's a follow up
Okay,
on.
I probably won't do that, but
Oh God!
because what do you say? You're the head of the
You're
what?
the head of this operation.
Yeah, you are. Do it.
God, what if the same thing happens to me? I don't want to find out what happened to him that bad.
Jeremy, that one. They're not going to get us. We don't matter. He was like some kind of fancy pants auditor, and then you and I are just.
So there's Henry. We're going to do a follow up here because this is from 2021 on his wife and William Kennedy, the friend who took his wallet, I believe, so he wouldn't buy more drinks that night at the bar. He was dropped off at a gas station by William Kennedy. One of the people Henry had been hanging out with that night. His wife reported him missing the next day after she received a peculiar call. You think? God, those poor kids. I hope they've never heard that call.
Yeah, I concur.
On September 6th, Henry ran into a few people he knew from Liberia while he was out at a barbecue with his nieces. One of them was William Kennedy, who was invited back to Henry's place. The two later headed out to a bar to meet a few other people, where they drank for quite a while. Now, if you take someone's wallet, it seems to me like that would ensure that they remain with you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, why? And especially if he's that drunk, like, why would you just let him? I mean, it's kind of your duty to make sure he gets home safe. Especially if you take
He
his
dropped him
wallet.
at a gas station, though. It was later discovered that the location of the wrong gas station had been mentioned to the police. In October 2015, Corrine had his wife had talked to the police regarding her belief that Henry was still alive. That was before he was found dead, unfortunately, I guess.
I don't know. The thing I don't get is like when I hear this whole thing and we dropped him off the gas station, it makes me think perhaps, okay, I don't want to, again, get sued, but I'm just thinking, okay, if I'm like going to set someone up, let's just go pick some kind of freaking weird place. Then forget where it is. Like this dude, he mentioned the wrong gas station. Like what? Like what kind? How stupid can you be? I don't get it.
So she had already moved to California, I guess.
In her defense, that's better than being in freaking Minnesota.
How? It's California.
Have you been to Minnesota?
There is evil there that does not sleep.
There is, but freaking Minnesota, there's cold there that doesn't sleep.
Wait a minute. Check this out. According to the show, Corrine McCabe, his wife, left Minnesota sometime after his remains were found. She's from California and seems to be working as an author writing science fiction, fantasy, and young adult novels. Beyond that, not much else is known about her current whereabouts.
That's interesting.
I would love to know what these novels are.
Well, look them up.
She doesn't understand why her husband was dropped off at a gas station and not brought home. Yeah,
exactly. And then again, just to hammer that point home, the dude or someone literally got the gas station wrong when they told the authorities where it was. And how do you do that? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And especially in places in the Midwest. I mean, I've been there. You kind of, since everything's kind of flat, you have these like markers, like everyone knows.
Oh, that's why you're saying it's a bad place. Yeah. Because, yeah, I get what you're saying.
I mean, I don't mind the flat, but I'm just saying everyone, you've got. I mean, that's just how you tell the surroundings because you're going to use cues like streets and businesses and not the environment. You're not going to say up on the hill, basically, like you would around here.
Yeah.
I need to read some of her books. Well, that wasn't too scary, was it?
What?
All this.
I'm pretty freaked out right now.
I'm not.
She must write under a pen name, I guess. I don't know. Because nothing's coming up for Henry McCabe on Amazon.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of would too if I was in her situation.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't want to be my fiction known because of, attract fans because of that. Like that'd be kind of odd.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I don't know if you've watched the Smiley Face TV show. They had like
I forgot there was a TV show.
Yeah, they had a show. It was a true crime show, and I think it only ran for like a season. And you really get to see the parents of these, young boys, and it's pretty heartbreaking. It's very sad. And I think people can forget when they're looking into the weird aspects of this stuff that, I mean, any one of these, like each one is a tragedy that destroyed people's lives. Like, for instance, Dennis Martin, that dude, his
the kid, the little boy.
Yeah, his father is very open about how after that disappearance, his life just it was over. Like it just ruined.
That poor man.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you remember from Paradise Lost, the big loud dude. I mean, we all saw how his life turned out through that series of documentaries. And it's just, I mean, the tragedies end up tearing people's families apart. It's very sad.
Here's an interesting. I had to go to Reddit where you say is filthy and degenerate, but
that's the evil that never sleeps. Well,
somebody on Reddit doing this thing called the trail went cold on Henry McCabe says that the timeline doesn't make sense. He could not have walked from the Holiday gas station to Rush Lake in 30 to 45 minutes if we assume the strange phone calls were recorded around the time of his death. It was a 4-mile walk that would require him either walking along a major highway or navigating through winding residential roads and somehow making his way around a much larger lake before drowning in Rush Lake.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're freaking drunk, you're not going to do that. I mean, you're not going to walk 4 miles and then, I'm assuming, go through woods and crap to get to some kind of random lake. I mean, you're going to go to the gutter or actually try to get home if you're able enough, but you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So when that happens, you're going to be like an animal seeking the path of least resistance and not going, again, 4 miles out of your way. What
there's
else?
So many cases in America. There's so many cases that don't see any kind of closure. How about the Summer Wells case?